Hello and welcome to PSY 110S, the Psychological Sciences. I'm Dr. Daly and I'll be basically your guide for the semester through this overview course of psychological science. Just a little introduction of who I am. I'm a social psychologist. I started my teaching career at Mountain Union in 1993. My major research interests are in the stigma related to mental illness, the importance of pets in people's lives, and most recently I did research looking at people who work in dog rescue and rehabilitation. To give you your tour here of the D2L page, when you land here, you'll see my little introduction, but then the place where you're going to spend most of your time is on this content browser. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the student view so that the D2L page looks most like what you're going to see. So in the content browser, you have the Start Here button, and that's where we're going to go next. I have a module with a bunch of resources that you can use for writing, because APA, the American Psychological Association, we use APA style in all written projects for courses in our programs. There's a module for the major written and oral communication project for the course, a set of modules for your work each week, and then some further resources and policies that are outlined both here and in your syllabus. So if we follow the Start Here button, we'll take a look at those resources. But before I leave the landing page, I want to point out that all of my videos for this course are also contained in a playlist on YouTube. So I'm going to pop over there real quick. We'll probably go back to this later in the video as well. But this is my playlist for the course. I have video overviews of projects, advice on formatting, use of templates, and so on. Where you'll be spending most of your time on the playlist is overviews for each work, for each week, and then lecture videos that are connected to each chapter. As you go through, you'll notice there are some bonus videos that are also present on YouTube, and I've added them to the playlist. These are videos that I embed in my PowerPoints, but they're not always easy to hear when they're recorded that way. So I've included links to them here as well. I've also added some links to YouTube videos that, for instance, this clip from The Big Bang Theory that YouTube will copyright strike me if I include it in my PowerPoint. So there are some bonus videos kind of hidden throughout the list for you to see. So let's go to the Start Here tab. And what you have on the Start Here tab is the orientation of the course, which is essentially this video. And after we click on this, you'll see that there's no video there. That's because I'm making the video right now. So we're going to go ahead and skip over to how the course is set up. This is an online asynchronous course, and what that means is you don't have a scheduled time to meet with me in class with other students. This is a course you can do on your own time. There are deadlines every single week, so you need to be careful to keep up and manage your deadlines. Every piece of information that you're going to need to know for this course is contained on D2L. And if there's something that you can't find, just reach out to me and let me know. On this tab, the Welcome to the Course tab, you have my contact information. Again, I'm Dr. Tamara Daly. My email is included here. My office phone is included here. I do not have scheduled office hours. I find it's more convenient and efficient for students to book appointments with me. I use the bookings app in Microsoft Outlook so that you can find places in my schedule that are open and convenient to you. It just saves a lot of time and emailing back and forth trying to find a good time to meet. So you can use that booking site to set up an appointment either in person in my office, which is 206 T&H, or we can meet online through Teams. The next page includes the course information, and this is the information that is included in the catalog. So the course description as listed here is the catalog description for the University of Mount Union for this course. The purpose of this course is that there's more than one target audience for this kind of class. This is a course that meets general education integrative core requirements for Mount Union. So it's got an S designation, meaning it counts as a social science foundation course. As such, it represents a broad overview of a field of study that's considered as part of the social sciences. So the course is going to include embedded elements of written and spoken communication skills, while simultaneously giving you an introduction to the basics of a specific discipline. The course learning outcomes are indicated here as well as in the syllabus. So what you see when you look at these learning outcomes for this class is we want to introduce you to a very broad field. And one of the first things you're going to learn about psychology is it covers a lot of territory, starting with the biological bases of behavior, looking at sensation and perception, looking at cognition and emotion, looking at personality, development, social psychology, and finally, abnormal psychology. With that, we need to work on developing your understanding of how psychology has grown, how psychologists ask and answer questions, and what kind of connections you can make between psychology and other disciplines. For example, when I talk about social psychology, I will state in one of the videos for that chapter that psychology and sociology interact, and actually those two broad disciplines gave birth to the subdiscipline of social psychology, which is basically a hybrid of psychology and sociology. You'll be learning about some key contributors, either individual scientists or theoreticians or groups thereof who have helped to build the field of psychology. You'll learn a lot of concepts because an introductory course is really, it's broad, but it's not deep. That said, you're going to get exposure to a lot of concepts and theories and findings, things that we know at the present time across across the course. We do have a goal as a department because many of us teach PSY 110. We try to foster in students good critical thinking skills, and that's both in the work that you're doing with your content through your textbook, but also through your written and oral communication assignments. In Learning Outcome 6, we want you to understand the way in which psychology is a science, and that's really critical to us. Many people come into an introductory psychology class kind of assuming that it's all about clinical and counseling for people who have psychological issues to deal with. While applied psychology is a part of psychology, it's not the entirety, and even those applied areas, the types of therapies that counselors and clinicians use have to be evidence-based. They have to be based on scientific conclusions and tests to determine if they're going to be efficacious and helpful to people who are actually given those treatments. So it's really important to us that you come away from this class really understanding the depth to which psychology is a scientific enterprise. We also want you to learn how to think about and read about social science research in a variety of venues. You're primarily going to be exposed to the academic side through your textbook, but through the social science and the news assignment, you're going to be looking at popular press representations as well. Now I've included here, this stuff is also in your syllabus, so I'm not going to spend very much time. Since this is a social science foundation course, there are learning outcomes that are associated with that component of the class. I will leave you to read those on your own. There are also learning outcomes associated with the written and oral components of the course. And for this class, that will be the Psychology in the News project, which includes a written research paper, followed by a PowerPoint presentation that you will record and submit. Your syllabi are posted here. I've given you some options. There's a PDF file version of the syllabus. There's a Word version of the syllabus. We'll pop over here to the PDF version. I make sure that on my D2L page, pretty much everything that's in the syllabus is duplicated somewhere on D2L for you to find. But for many students, they want to download and print out their syllabus so they can have it on hand and use it in a different way. So I've outlined here some of the things I've already talked to you about, which is making appointments with me through my bookings page, looking at the course description, the course purpose. There are no prerequisites for this course. The learning outcomes. There's a section on D2L where technological requirements are described as well. I just want to highlight real quickly, making sure that you have access to a web camera so that you can record your video is pretty important. If your personal device does not have that, you will need to visit the DWAC studio, because they can assist you with technology there. If you are not a Mount Union student, please reach out to me and we'll work out a plan. I'll be going over this in more detail in just a bit to talk about how to access your textbook, so I'm going to skip over that for now. The basic assignments throughout the course are outlined here. I don't know why I'm such a big fan of color coding, but anyway, you have the Psychology in the News project is in blue, where you have a research paper and a presentation, and the separate assignments that make that up. So the research paper, draft and final, is a very large chunk of your grade. The reference page, somewhat smaller, and the articles, somewhat smaller than that. In green are the presentation elements of the Psychology in the News project. And there you have to submit a PowerPoint file for me to assess. And then the presentation is the actual video recording of your presentation. There's also a social science reflection essay, which is required of all foundations courses at UMU. There is a quiz, an online quiz, for every chapter. In your textbook, there are 10 chapters, and they're each worth 20 points. The other parts of the course, and this is really critical, in purple are the perusal reading engagement assignments. And after I show you how, what perusal looks like, what it does, I'll talk to you some more about how perusal works. But essentially, it's like social media for reading. When you're looking at your online textbook, you'll be able to ask questions, make comments, tell stories, talk to each other, kind of like you do on social media, although hopefully not with any meanness at all, because that would be bad. Then finally, there's what we call a research participation requirement, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. The next part of the syllabus is just broad descriptions of the various assignments, and I'll leave you to read those on your own. The research participation requirement, I will highlight that though. In week 1, I'll ask that you sign up for an account with SONA, which is a participant subject pool system for scheduling people to be participants in research. This is a very common requirement for introductory psychology courses. It's sort of an experiential requirement so that you can get an insider's view of how research works. On the other side of it, most of the studies that are going on that you can participate in are run by faculty and students in our program. And this is especially true in the spring semester when all of our senior students doing their senior research are collecting data. So you'll really be contributing to the work of Mount Union faculty and their students doing their research when you participate. So what we ask students to do is to complete 3 research experiences. There are often, questionnaire ones that are online studies. Some studies, though, are in person where you come to the lab and participate. There are alternative experiences available. If you're a student who happens to be under the age of 18, we ask that you not participate in research projects because they're not intended for people who require permission from parents or guardians in order to participate. So if you're under 18 or you just don't want to participate in research, you certainly can't be forced to do so. So we have to provide you with alternatives. What I would like you to do is to reach out to me and we can talk about alternatives. One of those is to look at journal articles, which I will likely be posting for you to look at. But I'm trying to be as flexible as possible about this. I'm also toying with giving you some options of listening to some podcasts and writing reflections about them and so on. So if you want alternatives to research participation, just reach out to me and we can talk about it. The Department of Psychology, Neuroscience, and Human Development has a shared grading scale that's included here. As always, it may be possible that I need to make changes. That typically does not happen in online courses, but you never know. I do expect you to use your Mount Union email and to check it very frequently, especially with an online course like this. What I tend to do is I post or I send out a weekly email, just sort of reminding you of what your responsibilities for the week are, updating you with any news or information that you need. So you need to read that email every week. Also, though, if I have a question or a concern for you individually, the only way I have of getting in touch with you is through email. So it's really, really important that you check your Mount Union email on a regular basis and respond. I wanted to highlight the artificial intelligence policy that I follow. It's always quite annoying to me when I go to YouTube where my playlist lives, and it often pops up. One of the first things is an advertisement for Grammarly, which Grammarly is my personal demon at the present time, because it now runs on ChatGPT. So just to be very clear, I do not permit students to use any sort of AI tool in their writing, period. I don't know how much more clear I can be about that. ChatGPT and other similar tools that run on it or related kinds of AI language models like Grammarly and Chegg, and there are a whole bunch of them. Some of them advertise heavily to students suggesting this will make you a better writer. It will improve your grades. Well, it'll only improve your grades if you don't get failed for using them. So let's be crystal clear. Using an artificial intelligence to write your paper, to summarize your articles, is plagiarism, because all of the information that ChatGPT uses, it has essentially stolen from other authors and then cobbled together as if it's good writing. And it's typically not good writing. Beyond that, I enable Turnitin on my Dropboxes for written work that students produce. And it flags writing. And then if I have a student who has writing that's flagged is likely produced by AI, then I run it through some more rigorous AI detectors. And if I am clear that you have used AI to create your papers, it's an automatic 0 on the assignment. So you've been warned. It's in the syllabus. Don't use any AI products, including Grammarly, because it will get flagged by Turnitin. The remainder of this syllabus is a bunch of resources. I also have all of this information on the D2L page if it's easier to get to. The last component of the syllabus is the schedule. And on D2L, I also have the schedule printed up in separate documents, because some students have told me that they would prefer to just print that out instead of the other umpteen thousand pages of the syllabus. So what you notice is each week you have assignments that are due, and they are color-coded. I don't know why. But you have your perusal assignments in purple, quizzes in red, research paper assignments in blue, and presentation assignments in green, and then your reflection essay in orange, because I ran out of other colors. But all of your deadlines are outlined here on the course schedule, so make sure that you get those updated into your personal calendar, however you want to do that. Please recognize that the calendar on D2L does not include, there's no real way for me to add these kinds of external deadlines. Like the quiz deadlines show up on the calendar, but the perusal deadlines don't, because there's no real way for me to do that on D2L, which seems super stupid, but it's a fact. So things that have Dropboxes or quizzes that are built in D2L, those show up in the calendar. Since I use perusal, it's not tethered to that calendar. So just be aware of that you need to be paying close attention to the various deadlines along the way. Accessing your textbook is always the big challenge of week one. As I mentioned, I use perusal, and I provided you with the link here. It is required for this course that you engage with your textbook on perusal. With my online courses as well as my in-person courses, I have found over the decades of my teaching career that motivating students to read is one of the most challenging aspects of the work. Far too often students believe that they don't need to read. They should be able to be successful in their courses if they watch lecture videos, go to lecture, take notes on those things, and they should be able to be successful. That is false, at least for my courses. I use the chapter reading and the quizzes associated with them as an independent means of assessing how well you're mastering the material that's associated with the course. And it's also for online courses, especially perusal is really good, because that's the only place where you and I, you and all the other students in the class can actually interact with one another. How perusal works, and I'll go to perusal here in a second and show you. This statement is copied and pasted from the perusal website. And the way it works, I think I mentioned this before, perusal is basically social media for reading. Your reading assignment, the book, once you've accessed it, is there. And as you read, you can highlight sections and then ask questions, make comments. Perusal calls these annotations. And then you're given a score that shows the degree of cognitive complexity in the comment that you've made. So when I use annotations or use perusal for students to make annotations, what you're going to do is, and when you log on, this is faculty view, but it doesn't look terribly different in the student view. You break up the textbook by chapter, and the deadlines are indicated here for each one when they are due. When you open an assignment by clicking open, your textbook will open up and begin. So you're interested in something, you highlight it, and then you can type your question or your comment or your reflection. And then other people, everyone else in the course, can see what you've written and respond to it. The first day of classes, I will be posting a comment here at the very, very beginning, basically saying, hello and welcome. Please introduce yourself. And what I want you each to do is to respond to this post and tell everyone who you are, because that will help set the stage for you being able to interact with your classmates throughout the course of the semester. Now, there is a read aloud option for in perusal, and you can use that if you want to listen to your textbook. If you are listening and then you want to make a comment, it's still the same way. You highlight elements of the text and then you can make comments along with it. The purpose of perusal is really to get you engaged with your text, gives you an opportunity to interact with me. Like if you ask a question about something in the textbook, I will, it's a priority for me to answer all of those questions that students pose. That gives you a chance to engage with me more directly. You can also ask your fellow students, what do you think about this? And why you're interested in finding out. Now, the way to use perusal, because it is run, it has algorithms that it uses to assess the degree of engagement that you have when you're interacting with your text. It also assesses the cognitive complexity of what you write. So if you want to get full credit for your annotations on perusal, what you need to do is you can't just repeat what was said in the text. That will get you a 0 or a 1. You can't copy and paste from the text. That will get you a 0. You can't say pithy things like, I agree with that, or wow, that's interesting. That'll get you a 1. Short descriptions that paraphrase what you've read are usually 2s. Full credit scores are when you go beyond the text to elaborate, provide your own example, provide your own explanation, ask a detailed question. That gets you full credit. Now, the way I use perusal, I read every post that people make. and I review the scores every week to make sure that I agree with how Perusal has scored them. So you're expected to make a total of 3 annotations per week, per chapter. Each is scored from 0 to 3. And as I said, I read every comment. I make every effort to answer every question that you pose on Perusal. And it can be really fun to do this. You know, people come up with fun and insightful examples and ideas. And it's just it's a chance to interact. Far too often in online courses, you have no contact with any other students who are in your class. And you have minimal, if any, contact outside of email with your professor. So that's one of the reasons I like Perusal so much. To access your textbook, what you need to do, so it's a 2-step process. First, you need to enroll in my class on Perusal, and there's an enrollment code, and that's this code right here. My last name -PWGKJ, and this is a direct link to that page. Then, when you click on your assignments the first time, you will need to, it will prompt you to purchase access to the text. So before you do that, you need to contact the university store and get the purchase code. And that allows you plug in that code and you will have access to your text if you're using the Rater Ready program. If you're not using the Rater Ready program, or you are not a Mountain Union student, you will need to purchase access directly through Perusal using a credit card. If you have difficulty with any of this, please let me know. So I think I can show you kind of what that looks like. So if you open it up the very first time and you say, okay, chapter 1, I need to work on my assignment, it's going to prompt you to buy online or enter an access code. You're going to select, if you have a bookstore code, you're going to select enter an access code and then go to the next step where you'll enter that code, and that will give you access. If you're not a Mount Union student, you will need to pay with Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit card, and buy the text online. It's basically a rental, a 1-semester rental. So if we go back to the table of contents, you're going to spend a lot of your time in the weekly modules, but I do want to highlight real quickly before that, there is a module for the Psychology in the News project, which involves paper and a presentation. I do a separate video to describe the entire thing, but I just wanted to note here that there will be deadlines spread out across the semester for this whole project. This is the landing spot for finding out any and all information you might need related to the project. So you'll need to use this module pretty frequently along the way. I've outlined all the tasks that you're expected to complete, plus overview videos, instruction videos to help you be successful as you complete your assignment. I mentioned earlier, I've also provided you with some APA style resources. Since this is a psychology class, you are expected to use APA style. The APA has an APA style website, super helpful. Provides you with all kinds of guides. And this spot right here on their website is where I got all of these documents that I have uploaded. They make free and available guide sheets to help people like me who write scientific papers, but also people like you who are students who are completing assignments. So make sure that you take advantage of that resource. Then we're going to look at the weekly modules. And the way these are set up, there will be a real familiar flow. I give you kind of a verbal update of what you should expect for the week. I do a video overview that's posted to the playlist. You have a set of learning outcomes that are associated with the reading for the week. And then there are a set of tasks, and there will be really similar expectations for the types of tasks each week. Now, week 1 is a little different. You will be accessing your text on perusal. You enroll in the class using the course code, and then you need a purchase code from the university store if you're a Mountain Union student to access the textbook. If you're not a Mountain Union student, you need to buy access following the directions I described earlier. And then you'll be expected to read chapter 1 and provide your reflective annotations by the deadline. You'll be watching the lecture videos and then taking your chapter quiz. Finally, in week 1, you're going to sign up for SONA, as I described earlier. Then in each weekly module, there will be a space for weekly videos. And these are usually lecture videos that are broken up into parts so that they're more manageable. So you'll notice that, week to week, there's a similar kind of flow, a brief introduction and overview, the learning outcomes, and then tasks for the week. Now, some weeks deviate from this, like week 7. We kind of take a break from new material, and you'll be expected to be working on writing your paper. And then during week 10, you'll be putting together your PowerPoint presentation for your project. So there are some occasional deviations from the usual pattern of the weekly modules, but you should be able to keep track of those pretty easily. So that's an overview of the D2L site, a little visit to the playlist, a little visit to perusal. Hopefully this has given you a good sense of how the course is structured. If anything is confusing, if you have questions, you have concerns, please email me as soon as possible, and I will be able to help you with those concerns.